We are now live, by the way. There's music. I want to put some music in the background.
Cool.
Where's the music at? Sorry, that was way too abrupt.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Ari Levy, Chief Meme Officer at Freight Caviar. Ari, how are you today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Not bad. Not bad. We had some memes do really well this week. Some of the memes here that I want to pull up, I want to just, I think it'd be nice just to discuss them real quick. Because this one right here with, what's his name?
Yeah.
Zuckerberg. Oh, this one was so good.
Yeah, that one did great.
I don't know, at least.
I'm gonna get it pulled up here. Let's see here.
Oh gosh. I mean, I think it's probably going to be something like, I don't know, at least $600 billion. Oh gosh.
This one did really, really well.
Yeah.
On Instagram, on LinkedIn.
Shout out to Justin Martin for making the edits.
Yeah, and we had a couple more. I'm gonna this one right here. This one right here that did really well too.
If I were to do this, if I even could do it, I need a guarantee. How do I know you can deliver? You don't. I can.
Yeah. Two memes right here.
Sometimes.
Okay. Yeah. No, for sure. But
carriers. Yeah, they know they have you on the hook. Once the truck is on their or once the freight is on their truck. So if you're like, I need you to deliver, they're like, yeah, we will, but they'll deliver whenever they want.
Yeah. Well,
and then Indiana won the title this week. I went to Indiana. I'm super happy, and we have some great Signetti memes. We have more that are gonna drop next week, and then I think the meme coming out today should be out in an hour. Is superb. So I'm excited for people to see that one as well.
Is it about IU or Signetti?
Sleep paralysis. But then we have some more IU memes that are set to drop next week.
That one's actually on our Twitter page already. I could get that one pulled up. I think it'd be kind of funny to get it pulled up here. Give me one second.
It's not everyone is on Twitter, so I have it set to come on LinkedIn in an hour, but we
got to get that on LinkedIn on Instagram right afterwards. So this is Ari's voice right here. I'm gonna play it.
Did you voice?
Hey boss, I see the Chicago New Jersey posted for 2000. Do you think we could do 65? Send it over. How many pallets is this load? Man, why are you so cheap? I know there is more money in the load. You hide money from the carriers. The driver for this load is Sergi. I can't give you his phone number, just call me. Yes, he'll be on time tomorrow. 8 a.m. he'll be there. Yes, I promise. Hey boss, do you think you can send it over? You give me good price, I share with you. Just let me know your Zelle. Oh, you want to come to Serbia? Come to Serbia. I show you good time.
Ari, you're so good at these impersonations, and I know that you've done them before. You sent them to me privately, and you haven't actually shared a lot of them on LinkedIn or on the internet. I feel like you got to do more of that. That would bring you a lot of business. I feel like if you did actually.
Yeah.
More.
I don't. You literally. I did an impression of someone. I'm not going to say whose always posting on LinkedIn. That doesn't really narrow it down for anyone, but that's fine. We're not going to narrow it down. And you were like, holy shit. You're like, if you post this, you'll be a millionaire. And I was like, I don't know if I want to, I don't know how they'll take it, but yeah, I love doing impressions. I love doing voices.
Yeah. I think that, like, I don't think people would be offended by it, because, like, for me, it's more just like humor, you know, like, even if they are offended, like, that's fine. But, like, overall, it's, I think you should double down and do more of those. You should definitely.
I might.
Yeah. Here, we're gonna get Reed in here for a second.
Yeah, I spend a lot of time working on impressions just at home, so there's more to come.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, Reed.
You guys hear me?
We can hear you. Yeah. Good morning. How's West Palm Beach?
How do my eyes look? They look okay?
Yeah, you look fine. What, you didn't sleep a lot last night?
No. Am I lagging? I don't think the network is very good out here. Please advise.
It looks pretty good right now.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I got. I'm sitting here. I just arrived. I've ordered an emergency latte. I don't ever get lattes, but it just sounded really good, so I got a latte. So and then I'm gonna go inside, and then in 50 minutes, there's the Load Board Wars is a panel with DAT. Jeff from DAT, the CEO, and Scott Mosgrove from Truckstop, and I think Craig's on the panel, and then I can't remember who the fourth person is, but it should be pretty interesting.
Yeah, I've always wanted to go to BGSA. What's the Benjamin Gordon? What is it? Strategic Alliance? Is that what it stands for? BGSA?
I think the A is advisors.
Advisors. Strategic.
Advisors. It is like pound for pound, probably the best event, like by far.
Yeah, you get all the A players in there.
Yeah, you get all the A players.
Makers. Yeah, you got all dressed up, but you're wearing the Please Advise hat, which I love. You probably stick out like a sore thumb with a Please Advise hat at the BGSA.
Believe it or not, this is my resort wear. Okay, we're at the Breakers. Very nice resort, and I fit right in here, man. No problem for me.
Nice.
They do have a strict dress code inside. Oh no, we got issues, boys.
Right.
Ran out of Zins.
I am so dumb. You know how dumb I am? I had 2 of these, and I left the full one in my room that I just checked out of.
Well, if I could, I'd share it with you.
This is code red for me right now. This is code red.
You gotta figure it out. What are you gonna do?
I'm in trouble. I'll be honest.
You could probably go to the front office or front desk and just say I left something in my room.
I'm not staying here. Don't tell anybody, Ari. Okay, I'm not staying here. Do not tell anybody. Yeah, so that's too bad. Have you guys done some small talk about this storm yet?
No, we haven't really talked about the storm. Well, Reed, you're in Florida. Ari, you're in Mexico. I'm in Poland, so we're not really affected by it at the current moment. But we did write about it, and it seems pretty crazy. Although Chattanooga doesn't seem like it's gonna get hit that hard.
No, the last picture I saw of like the affected area, there's literally like a little carve out that goes up into Tennessee from Georgia.
I saw
that. It's literally like perfectly outlining us, which honestly I would prefer because I'm not going home this weekend, and I would like for my family to not be without power when I'm not there.
Where are you going?
I'm going to visit my sister in Fort Lauderdale after this, and I've been planning that for a while, and I haven't seen her for very often, so I'm gonna go down there and hang out.
What's the weather like in Fort Lauderdale this weekend? Let's see here. It's gonna be 78 and an 80 on Sunday. Wow.
Yeah, it's really nice.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty cool. I mean, I'm curious to see how the weather is going to affect the freight market. We talked to David Spencer 2 weeks ago, and I actually messaged David about this whole new weather storm, Weather Fern. That's the name of the storm, and he replied. He actually we quoted him in our newsletter a couple days ago.
Dude, people, I think people actually, you know, I'll just say this. I think we're back.
We're back.
I think we're back. We're back. Yeah.
From what standpoint are we back?
I'm not sure yet, but I stand by those words.
All right. Well,
yeah. So I was just gonna say real quick. Obviously, going into the new year, like towards the end of the year, there were some signs that there could be a turnaround happening, and sometimes you need kind of like an inflection point, whether it's like weather. 6 years ago that was COVID. So this maybe could be an inflection point. It seems like they're saying it could be one of the biggest winter storms ever. I think at least Canada is supposed to be the coldest place on Earth over the next week. So
wow.
I guess we'll see what happens. But if I'm a truck driver right now and I'm deciding I'm going to stay over the road, I am just going to absolutely pummel any brokerage that is moving and just
the
most ridiculous.
They should, man. They should rip their eyeballs out, honestly. Like, make all the money, please.
This meme was posted on LinkedIn from Alien Million. It's true. I mean, they had a bullpen at Coyote, and I know Tom used to work in a bullpen, and he told me, I think it was 2012 winter storm or 2014, I forgot which year it was, where it was like crazy winter in Chicago, and Coyote was taking so many losses on freight back then just to cover it all, and Tom was like in the midst of it all. Tom was the one covering it with all these Polish trucking companies, and Tom would call him up and just offer them enough money to where they would cancel whatever freight they were on typically, and Coyote was taking massive losses. So yeah, I'm curious how it's gonna be nowadays. But I feel like brokers stop taking massive losses. That was a thing up until 2022, 2023. I feel like, I don't know, it's not financially viable right now to take huge losses. So is anyone
financially viable to take?
Yeah, but
it
was at least justified from hey, we're gonna gain market share, and then we're gonna sell this company for an X multiple to UPS or whatever, or ArcBest, whatever, But nowadays it's Coyote was then resold to RXO for a $600 million loss. So I think that just won't happen again. So, but I'm curious.
Call your shippers and be like,
Ari, you were at Coyote.
Yeah.
You were at Coyote, right? You were at Molo. You experienced the huge, massive brokerages that scaled fast, that provided excellent customer service. Because that's what Coyote and Molo was all about, was providing excellent customer service, right? What was your experience from the winter storms? Have you had any crazy winter storms at Coyote or Molo?
So I remember I started at Coyote as an intern in 2016. I'm trying to think about winter storms. I do remember Hurricane Harvey, which
that was 2017.
Flooding.
Yeah.
I think it was right after I started there. That was pretty crazy. And then I remember there was another hurricane in Florida, and we did the FEMA loads, which are, if you find the right carrier, you can make a ton of money, because I forgot how much they get paid, but they get paid a lot to move the trailer down there, and then they get X amount per day for up to 30 days of them holding the trailer. I do remember obviously snow and storms. I don't remember a winter storm of this scale when I was working freight though.
Yeah.
But this is when you got to get ahead of it, and you got to talk to your shippers, and you got to be like, hey, can we move this out? Or, hey, how badly do you need this to go? This is an extreme circumstance, and I know we quoted you 3,000, but it's gonna go for 6. How badly do you want to move it, or do you want to wait? Don't wait until the last minute to get burned. But it's also dangerous for drivers to be on the road during this time. But someone will do it for the right price.
Yeah, especially Texas. I mean, Dallas, Texas. Like we had that ice storm in I think 2021 in Texas, and it got shut down. Like that's gonna repeat right now. And like I hope that people learn from it a couple years ago and like just stay at home because like there's people are gonna die. You know, there's gonna be casualties because of this, and it's like
if any truck drivers out there need a place to stash the truck for the storm, use promo code FERN25, all lowercase, on truckparkingclub.com until Monday. You may use that promo code and get $25 off truck parking. There you go.
$25 off should be free.
That was my ad ride. That was my ad read.
The ad read from Reed.
Yeah.
Cool. Yo, any takeaways from BGSA that you could share? Anything cool? What's actually interesting about BGSA is that it's a conference that has no media presence, and right, like there's very
no
little.
media.
Yeah,
except Craig. Craig's here. Does he count?
Yeah,
as media?
but no one's reporting about it. You know, like usually if you go to TIA, you go to like Manifest, you have a lot of journalists writing about what's happening. Here, there's like it's you know.
Well, I mean, there's a bunch of executives here, so I feel like a lot of them just kind of bring their wives and stuff, and they just like they do some meetings, they like hang out, like it's pretty low key. But I did see Mark Wahlberg on Wednesday, nice. And then I saw, for those of you who have watched the Real Housewives of Orange County on Bravo, one of the housewives was at the bar last night, so that was pretty cool.
Nice. I know that Mike Tyson was in attendance a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Florida is just one of those places where you like, especially on the East Coast, where you just like bump into celebrities. I was just in Miami for a wedding a couple weeks ago, and in the same day, I saw Amari Stoudemire, Anthony Joshua the night after he knocked out Jake Paul at MGK, all within the span of like 3 hours.
Yeah.
I mean, Miami's definitely like that. But Reed, we saw CeeLo Green. Reed and I saw CeeLo Green in Atlanta last night.
Oh yeah.
And it was funny because like we're like hanging out and there's like this dude with this big gold chain, like just huge gold chain, and like people are taking photos with him. And I knew like I recognized him. I didn't know exactly who he was, and I'm like Reed's like, yo, that's CeeLo Green. But
I would have not recognized him.
Yeah.
He's got a pretty recognizable face, I think. But anyway, boys, I gotta go. Dude, Rob's in the audience. I just
Rob's coming on.
Okay, cool. All right, well, I'll depart. And I'll let you guys go. I gotta go inside. So
cool.
We'll see you guys later.
Cool.
See ya.
Alrighty. So, Ari, before we bring Rob on here, I guess tell us a little bit about what's happening in your life. What's going on?
Yeah, so on a personal level, we'll run through it real quick. I was just in Brazil for about a month, just like working remote and traveling. And my phone broke like day 5 into the trip, and I bought a backup phone because I needed something, and I took the SIM card out and put it in. I did not know the phone that I bought was stolen. I know it had been reported stolen, and AT&T deactivated my SMS. And I was basically without a phone for 2 weeks. I had my computer, thankfully, and had iCloud and WhatsApp. But by the end of it, I had to cut the trip short because I was like locked out of my bank account. I needed the 2-factor authentication. So I flew back to Chicago, got a new phone, and then I was able to watch the Bears game with friends, and then Indiana win the national title. Now I'm back in Mexico City. On the professional front, very, very busy with landing talent and meme creation. We're on pace to set many records this year at landing talent. We have a lot of availability, or a lot of jobs available kind of across the spectrum. On the freight front, we have multiple different sales positions, Chicago, Dallas, Scottsdale, Chattanooga, and remote. Also Minneapolis. And we also I think we've talked about this before, but we don't just do freight. We do, for example, like we're recruiting for like urban mobility engineers, so people who kind of build public spaces. I'm looking for a global and like new product implementation engineer for a metals manufacturing company. And then we're also looking for sales reps for a kind of insurance tech company. So I'm not just in freight. Freight's obviously a focus, but I like to think that we're more than that, just freight.
Yeah, you started off with just being freight, right? Because you worked your entire career in logistics. So originally it was mostly
for sure.
Freight.
Yeah. So and we'll always be freight. That's what me and my business partner Roderick know best. Roderick has exceptional leadership, throughout freight. I have 7 years of experience working at large and small brokerages, and I think that'll always be a bread and butter for us, but I don't want to be just exclusive to freight. I think there's a lot of opportunity across the spectrum. So just trying to make an impact with whoever wants to work with us.
For sure.
Yeah.
There we go. Landingtalent.com. So if anyone,
I gotta update the site. It's been you gotta update the site. While.
You should vibe code it.
Yeah.
You could vibe code a lot of things nowadays. It's kind of crazy how like just like telling AI what you want to do, you could create it. We're actually we're working on revamping our website too for freightcaviar.com. So like we currently use a provider called Ghost. I guess it's right here, Ghost. But we're going to be making the switch over to Beehive. It's taking a little bit longer than we wanted to, but we're going to be there in a few months. Hopefully in a few weeks, we'll be there. Cool. Well, I'm going to do a quick rundown of what's happening in the newsletter here, and then we're going to bring on Rob Carpenter, who's the VP of Compliance and Managed Services at Trucksafe Consulting. We had featured Rob, I think, this week or last week. Let me just take a look at our newsletter, because Rob wrote something up for Freight Waves. Who's driving freight? This was January 12th. So this was last Monday. And I'm going to pull up. So this is basically Rob Carpenter wrote up about what's happening from like a CDL perspective in terms of like drivers that are hauling in the United States. I believe non-domiciled, but we're gonna get a deeper look into what Rob wrote about and the concerns that he addressed in the write-up on FreightWaves and what we brought up in our newsletter as well last week. But before that, just a quick rundown of today's news. So the Trump administration backed C.H. Robinson. Ari, did you see this?
Now I am.
Yeah, it's fresh news. The Trump administration filed an amicus brief backing C.H. Robinson and will argue before the U.S. Supreme Court on March 4th. Essentially, I'm going to just pull this up. What is happening here? The gist of it all is that the broker shouldn't be held liable for carrier accidents under federal law, and this is a ruling that could set a nationwide precedent. So pretty interesting to see the Trump administration get involved in that. As we were discussing earlier as well, a lot of people are bracing for the winter storm that's about to hit the United States. And that's going to be Atlanta, Nashville, Louisville, Texas areas. Like, I definitely expect a lot of turmoil when it comes to the weather conditions there. And then there was like the R&R collapse. Did you work with R&R companies? I remember I used to work with, they owned Taylor Express out of Minnesota. Have you ever worked at Taylor Express? They're pretty large. They were a large carrier. I think they had over 100 trucks.
I remember the name.
They were in my name when I was a broker. Taylor Express was, and they actually just filed for bankruptcy and shut down. Kind of crazy to think, but
yeah, I heard R&R's been struggling. Usually, it's the same. It was the same kind of a convoy. You could follow it once the factoring companies stop taking them.
Yeah,
that's usually like the initial sign. And I had heard that some R&R companies maybe a couple months ago were having issues with factoring, and that's when I was like, oh, well,
Yeah,
probably an issue.
we were
here.
getting some DMs as well. Like people were sending us some information. I didn't want to like, start any rumors. We've had difficulties, or we've caused, we've posted things that were rumors before that turned out to not be true, and so I kind of stay away from that. But it's kind of sad to see that Taylor Express, they used to run a lot of
journalists.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm learning the hard way, because I never went to I don't have a journalistic background, but we definitely need to be we're aware of that.
You don't need one. You could just start a company and get 80,000 followers.
You gotta start making memes. That's all you need.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah, but yeah. So Taylor Express shut down. Definitely sad to hear that. They used to run some freight for me. Shout out to OTR Solutions here. Did you know, Ari, that 80% of the U.S. market is accessible within a 2-day truck drive from Georgia? It's because of the population.
I didn't know that about Georgia.
In those regions. Yeah, I mean that's why UPS is headquartered in Atlanta, and why FedEx is headquartered in Memphis. It's just because they are near a large chunk of the U.S. population. So
I'm pretty sure 75% of the country is within a day's drive of Chicago as well, but I did not know that about Georgia.
Got it. Okay. Well, Arrive released their freight market update. We interviewed David Spencer, who's the VP of Data Intelligence at Arrive 2 weeks ago. Our podcast came out last week. Definitely an interesting listen if anyone wants to check it out. It's on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. But they came out with their January market update. And this is honestly one of the few market updates we actually follow and we read. I think they do a really good job of presenting the information and also like collecting information from across the industry from various sources. But like, I mean, Ari, we used to be brokers, so we used to deal with the nuances or like the ups and downs of the freight market. And so the freight market popped up again in late December and early January. Rates jumped, capacity tightened, everyone's phone started ringing, and that's kind of what we heard. I don't know if you've been talking to brokers, I'm sure you have, but that doesn't mean the demand is back. And so it was definitely a mix of the weather, the holidays, and a fragile market. But what is interesting is this right here. There's some background noise. Ari, are you doing some crazy stuff? I hear some crazy noise in the background. I'm gonna mute you, Ari. There's some.
I don't hear.
Here, I just muted Ari. I muted you. There's some really loud background noise right now coming from you.
There's nothing here.
That's so weird. When I muted you, it was like nice and quiet. But yeah, you might want to have some headphones on or something, because it's going to be. If you have AirPods, put some AirPods on. Here. 1 second. Justin, no, it's not Rob, because I muted Ari and it became quiet. But what's interesting here, we have this chart graph from Morgan Stanley. This is from the Arrive update. And when you look at the reefer truckload freight index, 2026 is in red, and this blue color right here is 2022. Oh wow! So actually, I think we made a mistake in our. Sorry, it was supposed to actually be since 2022, but here Morgan Stanley data shows reefer demand started 2026 at its strongest level since 2022. I gotta fix that error, but so it's been the strongest freight market for reefers since 2022. At least January was. And let's see here. Let's see if it's still kind of loud in the background, Ari.
I honestly have no idea, because it's quiet in here.
All right,
but you can keep me on mute if it's an issue.
No, it's all good. It's all good. We'll bring on Rob here in a second. Real quick, we could discuss this with Rob right when you bring him on. But so carriers keep quietly exiting the market. December saw the biggest drop in carrier count since early 2024. So a lot of carriers exited right here, December 2025. We saw a lot of exits, the most since early 2024. So big downturn right there. But yeah, I'm gonna stop presenting now, and we're gonna bring on Rob Carpenter. Let's give me here a second. Good morning, Rob.
Hey, how's it going?
Not too bad. Where are you calling in from today?
I'm in Virginia.
Where-
Everybody asks, and I tell them Yorktown, and they're like, "I don't know where Yorktown is. Where is that really?" But it's basically Richmond, Virginia Beach area.
How's the weather out there?
It's good now. I think tomorrow is supposed to get kind of ridiculous, and then Sunday. But I don't know. We've gone from the weather reports. It's like no different than anywhere else. Started at 25 inches, went to 3 inches, back to 12, then no snow, then ice. Now I think we're at rain, maybe snow. So we get what we get, I think, is kind of my position on it.
Yeah, I feel like the media outlets take advantage of it. Like whenever like the weather kind of goes crazy, they want to report, like some crazy news. Kind of like it's like, there was COVID, now it's like wars and everything, and it's like the weather patterns always like, freak people out. And so there's a lot of like, I guess, like changes happening. Cool, Rob. Well, thanks for joining us today. We definitely want to discuss what you were writing about in the editorial on Freight Waves. We featured that in our newsletter last week, and I guess it'd be kind of interesting to hear from you. Why did you decide to write that editorial, and can you kind of give us a background on that, and what are you kind of seeing from the data that you've been looking at?
Well, I wrote it primarily because I think a lot. I mean, everybody's been talking about non-domiciled drivers and who's behind the seat and unskilled and unqualified. And I think it's one thing to kind of have a narrative about that, but I think it's something completely different when you can actually pinpoint, hey, this is real data and these are real situations and this is how these systems are actually happening. And, this isn't new. Crowley has had this Defense Freight Transportation Services contract for a while. So it's like a $3 billion contract. A little less than that, but you get it. But they basically manage, a lot of the government freight. So, and that's not just including truckload, that's LTL, rail, the whole work. So if you're if you want to get in on federal DoD freight, that's kind of where you go. So when I had my carrier in my brokerage, when I hauled military freight, we had to go through something that was, because we were direct, we had to basically get the clearances and get the SF-86 forms filled out and all that good stuff. So basically there was a screening process for those people, but like you guys know, as being brokers, it's not always direct, right? Like there's a lot of subcontracting that goes out, owner operators. So it's what about those guys, and how well is Crowley screening these people to actually haul DoD and government freight? And I think that's the bigger question. So I think the more people that I talk to about this, the big question is, well, how many people are Chinese? And it's actually like 3% of our CDL drivers in the U.S. are Chinese. So it's not a significant number, but it's not a small number either. So really, that's why I just want to put some data to it.
Mm-hmm. Sure. I mean, I'm wondering, like, okay, since there's 3% of the drivers are Chinese, like, what that, like, I mean, obviously, like, they're not all spies, right? For the Chinese government, they came here wanting to live a better life, and they might all a certain portion of them probably love the United States and want to be like, kind of like patriots in a way. So I'm kind of curious, like, if you've seen maybe some kind of data, has there been some kind of information? I'm wondering, like, of like Chinese spies getting caught, like driving CDLs or anything like kind of that. I'm sure some of them are, right? But I'm kind of wondering if we could dig deeper there.
There's not some big data element out there that says, hey, we've caught like dozens of Chinese people spying on things. But I mean, there have been instances where they've been caught taking pictures of bases, and then you add in the other pieces like buying up farmland. And then Costco was actually basically, it was declared by the U.S. government to be like a military arm of the Chinese government. So a lot of these things happened under the Biden administration, not the Trump administration, but some of them don't go into effect until this year and next year. So there's some other things coming down the pipeline that I discussed in that article, but they won't actually be implemented in terms of like from a preventive standpoint until next year. So is there hardcore data? I think that's one of the reasons why we this Court of Appeals case got thrown out that tied funding to this thing. It's, can you show real data that shows that immigrants are causing XYZ, whether it's Chinese or Indian or whatever? And DOT couldn't produce that data, and they actually said they didn't have it. And part of that's because we just haven't tracked the data. I mean, FAR's database for the government and MCMIS doesn't track nationality, right? So we don't know who's actually caused a lot of the crashes. We just know the general demographics.
Mm-hmm. No, that makes sense. Ari, I'm wondering, because Ari, I know this might put you on the spot here, but I know you sit a little bit in like the geopolitics area. You're interested in it. I'm wondering if you have any questions for Rob when it comes to like, you know, the whole like, I guess, identity kind of like crisis when it comes to like who's actually driving the freight here.
Yeah, real quick, does this sound good?
Yeah,
it's not bad.
Paul, can you hear me good? Okay, cool. Alrighty. Yeah, so I guess you were just mentioning they didn't really have the data, but are they like, you know, kind of taking a conscious effort now to keep track of like, you know, are you know, accidents or incidents, whatever, caused by non-domiciled CDLs, citizens, non-citizens, illegal immigrants? Is that kind of going forward something that they're going to implement?
Are we talking in terms of the case where we're tying funds to like no longer licensing non-domiciled drivers, like for California, et cetera? Are they?
Yeah, but you also just said like they didn't like really keep track of the data before on like, you know, was this accident caused by illegal? Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, they are keeping track of it now. Now, whether in 3 years, if the administration changes, that'll continue. Whether, you know, I don't know. I doubt it. If it changes, if it stays Vance administration, probably it will remain. But for now, we are tracking it. Prior to this, we were not.
Okay.
So, here I'm going to pull up some tweets, Rob, that you've posted here. Kind of curious to see more of what you've been sharing. Another, how did a truck end up there moment? Arizona. DG truck stop on a Apache Trail, 2-day closure, 30% of truck fails from following a GPS. This keeps happening because we keep hiring untrained, unqualified, unskilled drivers and letting GPS replace experience and not planning trips. There's way more to truck driving than training the wheel. Like, can you tell us a little bit about what's happening in terms of like the hiring of CDL drivers? I know there's obviously non-domiciled. We've already addressed that, but what about like just hiring carriers that are incapable of actually doing the job properly?
Well, I mean, like for that specific tweet, there's the big push is there's more to driving a truck than just driving, you know, turning a wheel and driving a truck. And we've kind of slowly gotten away from skilled labor. Whether you look at posts that I've put out with actual data, that it's hard to correlate it, but if you watch our frequency and severity of crashes since we went to automatic transmissions, where they basically correlate, like crashes went up when people that were less experienced got behind the wheel. So some of this goes back to available drivers in the market. Like, I'm not saying there's a driver shortage, but I do think that there's a shortage of skilled drivers. So when you go back and you look at the root element of all these issues that we have, a lot of it is, one, carrier accountability. But two, it's how are we getting the drivers that we have? And we have ELDT, but ELDT is really only a registration tool. It developed a curriculum. You have to register to teach, but really that's it. It doesn't do anything else. Everything else is reliant on states and state programs to meet that. So if you have a state program like Virginia that requires 160 hours of instruction to complete it, great. You have a minimum. There's something there that's a standard. But you go to other states, there is no minimum. So you can kind of just go, as long as you can knock out the modules in 8 or 10 or 12 hours, then congratulations, you're a CDL driver. But I've had my CDL for 25 years, and I can tell you that 80% of what you need to know, you're not going to learn in school. You're going to learn on the road. But it's just it's a drastically different driver persona now than it was even with people licensed before 2010. So it's just really different.
So which states do you, in your opinion, have the best laws when it comes to, or best regulation when it comes to CDL vetting, and which ones are like the most lenient?
Oh Lord, I'd have to get a list out. But I mean, you have states like Virginia is one of them that really sets minimum standards. I mean, there's an entire manual that breaks down like to get a CDL in Virginia, you must complete X amount of hours of theory, X amount of hours behind the wheel, X amount of range. And then obviously you've got the same CDL test for everybody. But other states have 0 time limit. So like you can just go and get it. But the funny thing about this is we have organizations that are pressing for 18-year-old pilot programs for truck drivers. And you can drive you can drive a commercial motor vehicle as an 18-year-old and get your CDL in some states if you're going to stay intrastate. But you know, one of my issues with that is you've got 13 states in the United States that'll give you a license at 15 and 16 years old with no practical behind the wheel experience at all. So a lot of people look at me when I say that. It's like, what does that have to do with CDL? Well, if you're getting a regular vehicle license at 15 or 16 with no experience, you just go take a test and congratulations, you can get on the road with a car. For 2 years, you might drive with no training whatsoever, no real experience, and you're practicing doing it the wrong way. And now you've got people in those same states who are saying, hey, at 18, you can get a CDL. Go take that same non-experience that you've been practicing on for 2 years and go drive a truck. So it's not just a one problem issue. I mean, we've got a lot of issues, but it all starts in those places.
Definitely. That makes sense. I mean, it's kind of scary to like think about all the consequences of this, right? Like when did this all like begin? Because this has been ongoing for a while.
So on my Substack, I did this 30 Days of Why series back in like mid last year. And I kind of broke down like, these are all of the, like Danielle, she gets really in the weeds. And the only time you're ever going to find me in the weeds of like one specific case is if it really grates on my nerves. But that series was really to break down like the big picture elements of how our industry has failed in a 30-day series. So California started in 2013 when they did AB 60, right? 2 million people were licensed under AB 60. It wasn't designed to be a CDL program, but carved into that was a program that allowed you to get a commercial learner's permit. And from there, as long as you had these documents, you could get a CDL. And then basically you've got these not traditional non-domicile CDL drivers. So that's kind of where some of it started. But then you have other elements of this that's a total failure that's kind of all over the board. You've got third-party examiners that are taking Swedish fish as bribes to give people CDLs in Massachusetts. Or you have medical doctors who are in gas stations selling med cards for $200 with people who have no feet or who just had a heart transplant, getting 2-year medical cards. So it's not just about the initial training. It's about who you're willing to hire, what you're willing to buy from an asset perspective, and then ultimately who and what you're willing to put on the highway. So it's all over the place. You've got an accountability issue on the carrier side. You've got a training issue. You've got government issues with state and federal programs that are letting this stuff happen. And it's an overall mess. So fixing it isn't going to happen today. A lot of people are like, why can't we fix this right now? Well, it's a lot to fix.
Yeah. There's also like the ELD problem, which I know there's a lot of carriers that are, you know, like, well, at first in 2017, when the ELD mandate came into effect, you know, everyone was complaining. Everyone was like, you know, if you were a broker at that time, and Ari and I were brokers at that time, all we heard was the complaint, like, oh, the rates are going up, and rates did go up. And then, you know, like what I've learned is that all of a sudden, all these carriers, a lot of them being Eastern European, like of origin, you know, like from the Chicagoland area, they just run a couple ELDs, and you know they could be driving nonstop. It's like how do we allow that to happen? Like, you know, in Europe, for example, like there's, I think you could drive like 10 hours a day. I think that's like the limit. But like I'm pretty sure they don't have like an ELD problem where all of a sudden there's like carriers using 2 ELDs, 3 ELDs at a time. Where in the US that is happening, and we have all these like private companies that are providing this service, right, and allowing you kind of to backdoor it. Like, can you like address that a little bit? Have you looked into that at all? I know there's been a little bit of that topic being discussed.
Yeah, so I did a part 2 on this Chinese article, and I actually didn't publish it on FreightWaves. I published it on Twitter. I don't know, it was earlier in the week, but it really goes into the ELD aspect of this whole issue. So part of it is, I think, self-attestation, and that's across the board. I mean, ELDs are self-attestation. ELDT program teachers and instructors are self-attestation in a lot of ways. There's so much self-attestation, even medical certificates. When you go to get your med cert, most of the time, these aren't your primary care doctors that have known you for 5 years, right? You're self-attesting on a long form what your history is as from a medical perspective. And if you lie and you say, I've never had an issue, well, odds are you're probably going to come out with a 2-year card as long as your blood pressure is good and you can keep your balance. So it's a lot of self-attestation in the industry. But with ELDs, it even goes further, I would say, than self-attestation. You mentioned Europe. I spent a lot of time in Europe. I probably spend 20% of my year over there in the UK. And one of the things that they have over there is they've got tachographs. So with a tachograph, it's different. Let's use UK, for instance. They've got 3 manufacturers that are allowed to produce tachographs that are third-party certified. There is no self-attestation. You can only get them from these 3 vendors, and that's it. And then I've got a cousin. We're from Poland and old Russian Empire days, but my cousin still drives in Poland for Coca-Cola. So when we talk, his thing is, hey, we've got the card. It's got to go in the tachograph, and it's tied to us, right? So there's identity verification, there's ELD system verification, and third-party certifications. So it's a different world in the UK. Even Canada is a little different in terms of how they keep their hours of service. But the US ELD system, in the article, I actually wrote about CAN bus hacking and how you can hack these ELDs and how some Colorado State University kids did it. I actually put the video of them doing it. I think it was last year they hacked this Kenworth and they made it come to a complete stop, but they could have made it speed up. They could have done a lot of things. So there's not just the hours of service fatigue issue with the ELDs and, self-certifying them. It's the other issues that go along with it too, that from a security perspective. So you can go, I've taken a class with SAE. You can go take it if you have $1,000, and SAE will teach you about CAN bus hacking and how to hack a CAN bus. So anybody can learn this stuff. It's not like it's proprietary information.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I went to Serbia in July, and we drove there's like this city south of Belgrade that has like a large portion of like the young workforce that work as dispatchers, or some of them as brokers in the logistics industry, just outsourced for the US market. And then all of a sudden there's like this one huge ELD provider, and their office is huge. And apparently it's like the largest employer in the whole entire city. And I'm not going to name them just because I'm worried of, about my own safety. But like, apparently that's what they do. They make money by all these, like the carriers that are connected or utilize them for the ELD services, just run multiple ELDs. We got all these strong solo Sergeys that are, running on 0 hours of sleep and also putting at risk all these lives on the road. And so I live in Poland nowadays, and like in Poland, or in the EU, like the max speed of a truck is 90 kilometers an hour, which is like around 55 miles an hour. Like trucks cannot go faster. You can't even you go on a highway, like it's super safe. You very rarely see any trucking accidents because it's a lot, there's a lot of regulation behind it, which makes sense from the safety perspective. And you just don't see that in the United States, and I feel like I travel to the States all the time, and I always have I get I don't know, kind of nervous when I'm on the road in the United States compared to like it being in Europe. In Europe, it's super safe. And in the US, I feel like these trucks are driving way too fast for the fact that they're hauling 80,000 pounds of, weight. And for me, like I'm, all about having as little government intervention as possible when it comes to, most things. But when it comes to like the safety aspect, I feel like there should be more regulation and oversight. And I am like someone that would be like up for the trucking speed limit being 55 miles an hour. I know a lot of truck drivers get upset, like that's crazy. Like I think that should come out of like the cost of the manufacturer. The shipper should be paying additionally for those costs, and drivers should still be making as much money, if not more. But like at the end of the day, like safety and like regulation is super important. And like I'm just kind of curious what your point of view is on this, because like I know you're sitting in this, you're seeing all this crazy stuff happening. Like it was a lot better when it was regulated, right? It was a lot safer. It was a lot better of an environment.
Well, it's still highly regulated, but I think there's things that you have to look at in the U.S. that makes, like the U.K. There's two things. They obviously go slower. Two, they're more courteous, and I think they generally have they're just better drivers. And I think three, they're getting paid by the hour. So a lot of this goes to pay. So drivers in the U.S. are, when we're talking over the road carriers, are generally getting paid by the mile, not the hour. So there's a pressure to perform, because your performance affects how much money you make. And it's not a performance of quality, it's a performance of speed. So one of the worst is municipal waste haulers. And one of them is up there in Chicago, Mr. Bolt's. Like they always run in like the worst ISS scores. And there's a reason behind that. And that's because they pay by the load. The more loads you can get done while the dump is open between 7 and 5 at night, Monday through Thursday, the more money you make, right? So all of those elements kind of go to, I need to get as many loads as I possibly can between Monday and Thursday. We are short haul, so we don't have ELD. So we can kind of fudge our start and end times because we're working off a self-attested timesheet. And I just need to get as much done as I can in this time frame. So it's a high pressure. But if you look at the fatigue crashes related to Mr. Bolt's or Lucky Dog or some of these other municipal haulers, they're a train wreck. And most of them are from fatigue and issues surrounding fatigue. And that's because of the high pressure environment and how that's tied to pay structure. So I think if you're ever going to put in something in terms of speed, you're going to have to address the pay structure issue and kind of eliminate that cost per, pay per mile deal, and kind of get to a living wage by the hour that compensates to the point where drivers will still drive for you. But, the ELDs, like you said, are definitely cheatable. And one of the things that I wrote about last week was the Gazanov case up in Massachusetts. So most of what we do is expert witness work, trucking, highway accident litigation. And I got a call from a federal prosecutor. Now, I've written about this story like 3 different times. One of them was for Freight Waves, one of them was for my Substack, and then one of them was on X. I got this call maybe 2 weeks ago. This was about the Jarhead Motorcycle Club crash where this Ukrainian kid, maybe 22 years old or whatever, I can't think, Vladimir Zelensky, I think, ran into this group of motorcyclists, killed like 7 or 8 of them, and everybody was up in arms about that. That was maybe, 2 or 3 years ago. And he was found not guilty. And even though we definitely know this is what happened, he was found not guilty because they basically said that one of the motorcyclists was also drunk. So it kind of swayed the jury one way or the other. But what they did find is that the guy shouldn't have been hired. He had a history of drug use. He had failed drug tests. There was ELD manipulation in that crash. So they indicted the 2 owners, the Gazanov brothers. This is Westport Transport, I think is what it's called. So about 2 weeks ago, federal prosecutor from Massachusetts calls and asks if I could be an ELD expert witness on this case. And I couldn't because I've written too much about it. Like, it's one of those cases that just got in my crawl. Like, you killed a lot of people and you put this guy on the road. So the first brother got no time, right? So found him guilty. He pled guilty. They gave him no time. I think maybe he did like 2 months or something. Maybe it was, I don't remember. But this guy was offered a no time plea agreement and he turned it down and decided to go to trial. So his trial now is in March. The point of that is, even when you get caught as a carrier hiring bad drivers and kind of skirting the rules, there's just no accountability in it. So when you have cases like this that come up and you kind of set the precedent that you can kill 7 people, not get held responsible. Zelensky's petitioning in June to get his license reinstated after killing 7 people, and neither owner is going to get any time. So that kind of sets the precedent with FMCSA, and that's one of the things I pushed with them last week. It's like there's got to be more accountability across the board, especially for carriers that are hiring these drivers. So, that's the hours piece.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
7 people died, and
7 people.
and
Yep.
no one's going to be held accountable for that.
It's fascinating.
Nobody. So that's the big issue that we face, and at the Supreme Court level, the big question now is, can brokers be held responsible? Well, we're not there yet, but I wrote a story on that this week too. But it's if you're not going to hold the carrier responsible for a seven fatality crash, how are we going to start holding brokers responsible? So there's just a huge accountability crisis.
Mm-hmm. What's your outlook right now on it? Are you do you think with the new administration? What? Sorry?
On Montgomery?
No, I mean overall, you could. Yeah, maybe on Montgomery as well. You could give your outlook, but I'm just curious what your outlook is over as a whole. Like which direction are we headed? Are we I know there's some improvements being made, but it seems like there's so much to be done at the same time.
Yeah, it is. There's a lot to be done, and I think you have to start with the accountability side, because all of these elements kind of flow under a rule system, and it's like the old saying, without living under the rules, you live with the animals, and it's a true statement. So until you can fix the accountability crisis across the board, bad carriers and bad actors are going to see that. They're going to continue to exploit the system. So whether that's from being willing to hire the worst drivers possible, or just skirting the ELD rules and buying the cheapest ELD because someone in Ukraine can basically hack the system and reset your hours and let you run fatigue 24 hours a day, you have to fix the accountability crisis before you can fix anything else.
Mm-hmm. That's very interesting. And the work that you've done, I feel like that honestly that deserves a much longer conversation. I'm curious here, Ari, you're there just kind of chill listening. You got any questions for Rob, or anything to say?
No, I agree with you on the accountability piece. I was just going to say, sort of related, kind of unrelated. Your power go out, Paul. I live in Mexico, and I don't know what the CDL rules are for Mexico, but all I know is to get a driver's license, you don't need driver's ed or anything. You could once you're of age, you could just show up and get it. And it's sometimes I don't drive here. I take Ubers. I've been in cars, but I don't drive. But it's kind of scary knowing that anyone could just kind of show up and go.
Yeah, so I just did an article this week too on the federal licensing for Mexican CDL license, and there was actually a documentary some time ago where basically they did an undercover investigation, and you basically can call, pay a fee, and they ship you your license. So it's there were big questions surrounding border zone and Mexican drivers that are hauling freight into the border zone and into the U.S. So that you could almost do a whole show just on the federal license of Mexico.
So my friend Alex, who lives in Serbia, he actually, I don't know what he did, but he didn't want to get a driver's license in Serbia because it just takes way too long. Same in Poland. It's really difficult to get a driver's license here in Europe. And so he filled out some form online in Mexico, and they just sent him a Mexican driver's license, and he drives in Serbia with the Mexican driver's license. That's how he drives. So
yeah.
It is scary though, because I've been in a big truck before, like a big rig, and there's you've been talking about how there's no accountability and people are skipping steps. I would want to know everything that it needs to know about how to operate that before I take it on the road going 60 miles an hour.
Yeah. It's really come down to
scary. There's actors out there just
it's come down to the thing where since accountability doesn't exist, or it's very limited or selective, you have to have carriers that 100% recognize like their moral, ethical responsibility of sharing the highway with other motorists. And if you don't have that, then you have carriers that live with the animals, and that's what you've come down to on U.S. highways.
Yeah. Real quick, since we're here at up on time, I want to finish with a rapid fire close. 5 quick questions. Rob, are you up for it?
Yep.
Okay. Question number 1: is the U.S. CDL system being exploited right now? Yes or no?
Absolutely. Yes.
What's more dangerous today? Bad drivers getting licensed or weak vetting overall?
Weak vetting, the bad drivers are the symptom. Weak vetting is the disease.
Okay. Should a valid CDL still be enough to haul sensitive or defense freight?
Absolutely not.
Are brokers actually doing enough to protect themselves or just relying on paperwork?
I think most are relying on paperwork. I know we did when we were a broker. As long as you were unrated or not conditional, you could haul our freight. So the good ones are using the tools. The smart ones are probably getting ready for the Montgomery verdict.
Okay. If nothing changes, does this problem get better or worse in the next 2 years?
Worse, because I think chameleon carrier networks and bad actors can scale faster than enforcement in the government.
And I guess that question aside, do you think it's going to get better because of the actions that are currently taking place?
I think it depends on how it's going to be implemented, because we've seen some about faces. Like we saw an about face on the government's position with Montgomery this week. So I think it depends on how strict we adhere to the principles that we're trying to push.
Yeah. Well, Rob, thank you so much for joining us today on our live show. It was a pleasure to discuss these topics with you, and
thanks, Rob.
I look forward to seeing what you put out next, and I'm hoping that it gets better.
Yeah.
So,
I appreciate it.
Take care, Rob.
Thanks, Rob.
See ya. Alrighty. Well, there we go. Freight Gong Friday. A little bit shorter today. We're at a 1 hour mark. My lighting died I have like this light, and it's supposed to be charged up, but it turned off. So I guess it's just time to end the live show for today. Ari, thanks for co-hosting alongside me. We got to get you a microphone
thanks
and
for having me
video
on.
camera set up. You gotta get a studio set up.
I gotta get a little studio set up. I have an extra bedroom that I can make a studio in. I don't know what the sound was, but I'm glad it stopped. But
here's my MacBook.
Is that it? Is that it in your office? Is that in the office?
Yeah, this is my office.
That's awesome.
Yep.
I'm looking forward to seeing the office. Hopefully sometime this year.
Definitely. You're going to come in here either in May or in October. I got to keep you updated. But I'm going to hop off the live. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Yeah. And we'll see everyone next Friday.
Bye.